Many people begin to notice small changes in their hearing as time passes. At first, it may simply feel like the television volume needs to be a little higher than before. A conversation might require asking someone to repeat a sentence once in a while. These changes often appear gradually, so they are easy to ignore. Many people assume this is simply a natural part of getting older and nothing more. However, hearing is not only about detecting sound. Hearing plays a major role in how the brain stays active and connected with the world. Every voice, every familiar sound, and every conversation sends signals to the brain. These signals help the brain recognize language, understand emotion, and maintain attention. When hearing begins to decline, the brain receives less stimulation from sound. Over time, this can make speech more difficult to understand, even if the sound itself is still loud enough. Many people experience a situation where they can hear a voice, but cannot clearly understand the words. This often happens because the brain is receiving less detailed information about speech patterns. When this happens repeatedly, conversations can become tiring. People may start to avoid social gatherings or group conversations because it becomes difficult to follow what others are saying. When conversations become stressful, many people naturally begin speaking less. As conversations decrease, the brain receives even less stimulation. This cycle can slowly affect memory, concentration, and emotional well-being. That is why hearing health is not only about the ears. It is also deeply connected to how the brain stays engaged with everyday life. The encouraging news is that hearing ability can still be supported, even as it changes. While the ears themselves may not return to the sensitivity they had many years ago, the brain remains capable of learning and adapting. The goal is not to force the ears to work harder, but to help the brain interpret sound more efficiently. One of the most helpful habits begins with a very simple change. Instead of increasing the volume whenever speech feels unclear, try slightly lowering the volume and paying closer attention to visual information. When watching television or speaking with someone, observe the speaker's facial expression, mouth movement, and body language. These visual cues provide valuable information that supports speech understanding. The brain naturally combines sound and visual signals to interpret language. When hearing becomes less precise, visual information becomes even more important. Watching how a person forms words with their mouth helps the brain anticipate what sound is coming next. Over time, the brain becomes more skilled at predicting speech patterns, which improves understanding even when the sound itself is softer. At first, this method may feel unusual. However, after repeating it regularly, many people notice that they do not need to increase the television volume as much as before. The brain gradually becomes more active in interpreting speech, rather than relying only on louder sound. Another gentle way to stimulate hearing is through music. Music contains a wide range of tones, rhythms, and frequencies that activate different parts of the auditory system. Listening to music is also emotionally comfortable, which makes it easier to practice regularly. When listening to a favorite song, try focusing on the different sounds within the music. Notice which instruments appear first, and how the melody moves between higher and lower notes. Pay attention to the rhythm and how the tempo changes throughout the song. This type of listening encourages the brain to identify patterns in sound again. If the song is familiar, quietly singing along can add another helpful layer of stimulation. Singing requires listening, remembering the melody, and coordinating speech. At the same time, this combination activates several brain regions involved in communication. Many people also find that familiar songs from earlier years bring back memories and emotions. These memories help strengthen connections between sound and long-term memory, which is beneficial for overall brain health. Music, therefore, becomes not only a source of enjoyment, but also a natural exercise for hearing and cognition. Another important skill related to hearing is the ability to focus on a single voice. When multiple sounds are present, many people notice that quiet environments feel comfortable, but busy restaurants or family gatherings make conversations difficult. This happens because the brain must separate the voice of the speaker from surrounding noise. Younger ears and brains perform this filtering automatically. As hearing changes over time, the ability to filter sound can weaken. Fortunately, this skill can be practiced. One simple way is to have a short conversation. While a television or radio is playing quietly in the background sound should remain soft enough that speech is still possible. During the conversation, the brain begins learning to focus on the most important voice while ignoring the rest. At first, this exercise may feel confusing because multiple sounds compete for attention. However, repetition helps the brain rebuild the ability to prioritize one voice over others. Over time, this training can make conversations in everyday environments much easier to follow. A further helpful habit involves listening and writing. While listening to a radio program, a news broadcast, or an audio story, pause occasionally and write down a word or phrase that stands out. The purpose is not to write every sentence, but to actively process what is being heard. Writing reinforces attention and memory, because the brain must briefly organize the information before recording it. This simple step transforms passive listening into active listening. Even writing a single word can strengthen the connection between hearing and comprehension. When practiced regularly, this habit helps the brain stay alert to meaningful sound, rather than letting speech fade into the background. Some people worry that hearing exercises require long practice sessions or complicated equipment. In reality, the most effective approach is often the simplest. Short daily habits are more beneficial than long sessions done only occasionally. Just a few minutes of focused listening each day can help maintain the brain's responsiveness to sound. A brief moment spent observing speech on television, a few minutes of attentive music, listening, a short conversation with gentle background, noise, or writing down a phrase from the radio can all provide useful stimulation. Consistency is far more important than duration. Hearing is closely connected with overall lifestyle as well. Exposure to extremely loud environments for long periods of time can fatigue the auditory system. After spending time in a noisy place, allowing a short period of quiet can help the ears recover. Adequate rest and balanced daily routines also support how the brain processes sound. When the body is exhausted, speech comprehension often becomes more difficult. Hydration, regular meals, and moderate physical activity all contribute to maintaining healthy brain function. Another important factor in hearing health is maintaining regular social interaction. Conversation is one of the most powerful forms of auditory stimulation. When people speak with others, the brain continuously processes tone, emotion, rhythm, and meaning. Even short conversations keep the brain engaged with speech patterns. A brief greeting, a small exchange of daily experiences, or a shared laugh can stimulate the auditory system. Long periods of silence, on the other hand, reduce the brain's opportunity to practice interpreting sound. Therefore, staying socially connected plays an important role in maintaining listening ability. It is also important not to feel discouraged by changes in hearing. Hearing shifts gradually for many people, and these changes do not mean that communication must disappear. Instead, they simply signal that the brain may benefit from new listening strategies. Asking someone to speak a little slower, choosing a quieter place for conversation, or facing the speaker directly are all reasonable adjustments. Communication works best when both people cooperate. To make listening comfortable, hearing should never become a source of embarrassment. It is simply another part of health that deserves attention and care. With the right habits, hearing can remain a meaningful bridge between people. Everyday sounds hold great value in life. The voice of a loved one, the laughter of family members, the rhythm of music, the quiet sound of rain, or the simple greeting of a friend all contribute to emotional connection. Hearing allows these moments to remain vivid and present. Protecting and supporting hearing, therefore, protects many of the experiences that give life warmth and meaning. Small daily habits can help preserve this connection. Even if hearing changes gradually over the years, the ability to stay engaged with sound can remain strong. A few minutes of attentive listening each day can keep the brain active and responsive. Over time, many people notice that voices feel clearer and conversations feel easier again. The improvement may not appear suddenly, but it grows steadily with repetition. Hearing is more than a sense. It is a bridge between people and the world around them. Maintaining that bridge allows communication, memory, and emotion to remain connected throughout life. With patience and simple daily habits, the sounds of life can continue to be heard, understood, and shared.